Okay, 7th graders, so here is your paper for your final. Your paper for your final is 11 by 14, and it is white paper. So on the Post-it, it has directions for you to find the center of your paper and also to start setting it up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to utilize just the paper, not the board. We're only paying attention to the paper right now. And what I've done is I've taken my T-square and I've placed it horizontally on my paper, perfectly aligned here, and I'm going to measure in from the right 3.5 inches, not 3 inches, but 3.5. Just above, I'm going to put a little up arrow to remind myself. I'm going to flip my T-square the other way, and I'm going to make a dot at 3.5 again. Okay? So I've measured in from the right and in from the left 3.5 inches. I'm going to measure down from the top 3 inches, and I'm going to put a little arrow going to the right. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, 3 inches. I'm going to put a dot and put an arrow to the right. The arrows indicate which direction these lines will go. Now we need a vanishing point in our center. So I'm going to take my T-square, put it firmly on the paper, and I know that the paper is 11 inches, so that means half of 11 is 5.5. As light as I can, I'm going to put a little dot at 5.5. That is the half if I were to break the paper into 2 vertical sections. Now I need to take my paper, take my T-square, and I'm going to put it horizontally. I'm going to find that dot that I made at 5.5, and it's very important that my T-square is on that dot. And now I need to divide the paper in 2 vertical portions. So 14 inches, half of 14 is 7, so here's where my 5.5 dot was, here's where my 7 dot is. Now I'm going to put this dot as quite large because that's my vanishing point. I'm going to go ahead and erase the dot that I just had. Now I've made several important markings. I've located the center of the paper, which is going to be the vanishing point. I've measured 3.5 inches from the right and the left, 3 inches up from the bottom, 3 inches down from the top. Now I can start utilizing the board. On the board, this Sharpie line is where you're going to place your paper. So you're going to perfectly align it vertically and then perfectly align it horizontally with the Sharpie lines. Okay. Once it's down, you're going to use drafting tape, which is this narrow restickable tape that will not damage the paper. And I'm going to tape my paper to the board. When I tape my paper to the board, I don't like to do a small diagonal. I like to go with a nice horizontal tape because I get a lot more tape on the section. Over here, I'm going to align it vertically, and then the last piece of tape is over here. Okay, now let's get going. Let's make that rectangle that's going to happen in the middle. I'm going to take my T-square, and my T-square is firmly on the board. It is not like this. It's not like that. It is not like this. It is on the board, so I can make perfectly vertical lines. I'm going to slide my T-square to that first dot that's 3.5 inches in, and I'm going to go as light as I possibly can and make a vertical line. I'm going to slide my T-square over to the next dot, make a light, very light vertical line. Now I'm going to take my T-square and put it horizontally on the board. I'm going to look for my bottom dot that had the right arrow, and I'm going to, just between my 2 parallel vertical lines, make a horizontal line. Now I can erase these little extra bottom lines. It's a good habit to erase right away. Erase. I can erase these little arrows. I don't need those anymore. Okay. I can erase this arrow because I know I'm going to go to the right there. I'm just going to draw between the 2 parallel vertical lines here. Okay, and erase, erase. Now I have a rectangle perfectly placed in the center of my page, and I also have the vanishing point. The next step, I'm going to connect the corner of the rectangle to the corner of the paper. This is not aligned with the vanishing point. This is just breaking up the room into 4 sections. So corner to corner, exceedingly lightly, drawing exceedingly lightly. Especially when I get down to the bottom here, so much of this floor spot will be erased, so I'm drawing as light as I possibly can so that it makes my life easier later on when I need to erase. Last one. And there you go. Your paper should look exactly like mine.